Within this lesson, we're going to look at request animation frame. So this is going to be something that is relatively new. So not all of the older browsers are going to support this. So over here they do have a browser compatibility chart here to let you know if browsers are compatible. So do take a look at this if you're working on older versions or if your game has to be compatible with Internet Explorer. There are ways to get this to become compatible. So here you can actually set the different animation values here. So that within this lesson, we're just going to be working with the window request animation frame. You can also accomplish this by using intervals, but probably the best way, the modern way to do this is to do this request animation frame. And what this does is this takes over that looping of those intervals. And all we have to do is go into our code here, look back on what we're doing here and play game. And if I add this into request animation frame play game, it's going to continuously render this out. So just to show you what's happening here. And maybe I'll just set a quick value. Maybe we'll just increment the score there just for now, just to show you what's happening here. And I'm going to list out the value of score, go back out to our game, refresh it, and we see that this is roughly every second. It's looping through that particular function. And we see that it's actually updating the screen there. So this is a really good animation interval. And this is one of the things that's important when you're creating a game is to have this ability to loop through and continuously run through functions. So it's going to be different than when you're designing a website or something like that where you're looking for more of a linear process. You constantly want to be able to refresh and recalculate what's happening within your game, and this is what that request animation frame allows you to do, to run through that function over and over again. And if you have any calculations or if you need anything to happen, then you could add that all in the frame. So all I'm doing for mine is that I'm rendering this out, and again, of course, I could just copy this out. I could get rid of this render and I could have all of it within the play game. So sometimes, depending on what your game structure is, you can do it that way, but we do want to have the ability to add in additional functionality and grow out our game, and that's why we've got all of these different functions, and that's why we've got them grouped in this type of fashion. So I'm going to actually change this to black, to have a fill of black. So within this lesson, we're going to start getting into adding in the enemies and also making some functionality for the enemy. So one of the first things that I want to do is I want to actually draw the enemy, and I'm going to set up, so we set up this object here that controls the player information. So maybe we need to set up another object here that controls our enemy information. So we're not going to need any of this stuff necessarily, although we might need some values there. But for now, we're just going to keep them the same. I'm going to just change the X and the Y so it's not immediately on top of the player. And I'm going to render out the enemy. So from here, all we need to do is we just need another draw image. And actually, I'm going to do the enemy before the Pac-Man. And this is another thing to keep in mind, that when you're drawing out stuff on the canvas, this is going to be in order. And this is why we actually do the rectangle first in order to clear up our canvas, that we're doing the black, we're doing the canvas size, and we're doing all of this stuff first, because we want all of this to actually be some of the first pieces that we see. And over here, if I want to put the score, basically now the ghost and the Pac-Man are going to be able to go on top of the score. So it's all layered in order of what's coming in first there. So now we need to draw out. So again, we're going to be using that main image. So that actually doesn't change. I have to set a value for here. So I'm going to just set 0 for now. Direction, so there's no direction for the ghosts. So 0, 0, 32, 32 is going to pick up our first red ghost, 0, 0.32 by 32. And now we need to set in their coordinates where they're going to be located. And we're just going to keep him at 32 and 32. So it's really easy to add in an enemy. And as we can see here, there's our ghost. And in the upcoming lessons, we're actually going to animate him. And again, this came to where the layering is. So now whenever our Pac-Man is traveling, he's on the top layer. And that's why he can go on top of the ghost there. And again, always keep in mind how you're layering, how you're stacking what's happening on the canvas. And that's dependent on the order that you're outputting the code. So in the next lesson, we're going to maybe animate the ghost, and then we're going to finish the game off by adding in a power dot, which is going to give us the ability to eat the ghost. So that's all coming up in the next lessons.